Here at Stan was a man, and he was tall and he was strong, but he had had enough of all of the fighting. So he turned his back to the battlefield, and he gave away his sword and his shield, his spear and his bow and his arrows, and he turned himself around and started to walk back to his home. Now, as the days passed, for it was a long journey back to his own home, a smile started to appear on his lips. And as he got closer, he knew he was going to see his father, his mother, his sister, and his brother. When he was about a day's journey away and he was at the top of a very high hill, he could look down into the valley and see the river that ran by the side of his house. And he could see the bridge, but it was starting to rain, so he rested his back against a tree and he slept that night. But the next morning, when the sun came up, he looked down towards the bridge, and there he could see a rainbow with red and orange and yellow and green and blue and indigo and violet. He knew what it was. He said to himself, "I know what that is. That's because the rain has fallen and the sun has shone and it has made a rainbow on top of the bridge." But when he got closer to the bridge, he looked and he could see that on the bridge there was a dragon with huge jaws, a red scaly head, an orange neck, a yellow back, green wings, blue legs, and purple toes and tail. If he was to get to his home to see his father, his mother, his sister, his brother, it would be 10 li before he could get to another bridge. So he raised his foot, and he placed it on top of the dragon's head, and the dragon did not move. He placed his other foot, and he started to walk between its eyes, and all down its hard back, and he jumped off the tip of its purple tail. And then he took 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 steps. But at the end of the 5th step, a voice came from behind him. It spoke, deep, dark, loud. "You're at Stan. You must turn around and help me." He was frightened, and he wondered, now that he'd woken the dragon, what it would look like. But when he turned around and looked, he did not see the dragon with its huge jaws and its sharp teeth. He saw that there was a man with a red crown upon his head, bright orange eyes, yellow hair, a green cloak upon his back, and he was dressed in all of the colours of the rainbow, and he spoke in this way. "You're at Stan. I am the king of the dragons, and you shall come and help me to get rid of a great fire monster that lives in my kingdom at the bottom of the sea, and he is eating my wives and my children." Here at Stan was quite scared when he heard of a fire monster, but he had no sword or shield or spear or bow and arrow. But the king of the dragons started to walk towards the fast-flowing river, and here at Stan thought, well, he shall get washed away. There is no way that he will survive the current in the stream. But the king of the dragons walked towards the water, and as he placed his foot on top of the river, he didn't sink down. Here at Stan was amazed, and there stood the king of the dragons, and he beckoned Here at Stan to come and stand beside him. Here at Stan was truly frightened, because he walked towards the river, he placed his foot on top of the water, and he didn't sink down. He couldn't believe it. He didn't know that he could walk on water, and he stood by the side of the king of the dragons, and then from up and under the water there came a huge round silver seashell. And that was how they could stand on top of the water. And it started to move this way and that, and it cascaded down the river to the sea. And when it got to the edge of the sea, fish came out of the water with huge round golden eyes and blood-red fins at their necks. And they started to pull that seashell with the king of the dragons, and here at Stan, seahorses came and they pushed that shell. But when they came to the middle of the sea, the king of the dragons looked at here at Stan and said, "Now you must hold your breath." And here at Stan did as he was told, for he took a great deep breath. And the fish and the seahorses, they pulled that shell with the king of the dragons, and here at Stan all of the way down to the bottom of the sea. And just when he thought that he could not breathe, he took a huge deep breath, for they were in a cave, a sweet smelling cave, and the king of the dragons was a dragon once more. He spoke. "Climb upon my back." Here at Stan climbed upon the king of the dragon's back, and they flew through that cave for 3 days and 4 nights, till they came to a beautiful country at the bottom of the sea. It was covered all over with flat green grass. There was a castle that was white and wide with golden gates at its front, and all of the baby dragons came flying around. And the wives of the king of the dragons came. He spoke to them all. "This man who walks upon 2 legs, he shall kill the great fire monster that has been eating us all." And just as he said those words, a great and a terrible scream arose. For there on the horizon you could see that there was the fire monster, with its round red ruby fire eyes, its skin that was made of golden fire, its teeth that were made of fire that was silver, but its legs were tree trunks, and they thumped and they crashed upon the ground, and all of them screamed. Here at Stan was frightened. The king of the dragons spoke to him. "You must now kill the great fire monster." And he brought to Herat Stan a great silver bow and 3 arrows. One was made of gold, the second was made of silver, but the third was copper. And Herat Stan watched, and he saw the fire monster coming closer and closer, and he ran to the top of the tallest tower in that great white and wide castle. And here he took the copper arrow, and on a bow-bent arrow string he let it fly through the air, and it bounced right off the fire monster's golden skin. He took the silver arrow, and he let it fly, and it stuck into one of its tree trunk legs, and still it came forward. And then he took the golden arrow, but as he pulled the golden arrow out, it caught at his thumb, and 1, 2, 3 drops of blood fell upon the tip of the golden arrow. The king of the dragons smiled, but Herat Stan, his heart beating in his chest, he pulled back that golden arrow, and he let it fly through the air, and it went straight between the 2 ruby fire eyes of the fire monster, and still it kept coming forward.